When Arturas Karnisovas and Billy Donovan had their season opening press conference, they talked about how this team wanted to play with a quicker pace and also get more threes up. While neither one of those things has really happened in a major way for the Chicago Bulls, I think when you look at this roster, the roster is telling the coaching staff and the front office that they do want to play with a quicker pace. We're going to talk about that a little bit on today's episode. We're also going to talk about how Dalen Terry is starting to improve and starting to kind of show those flashes that we wanted to see from Dalen Terry early on, and preview the game tonight against the Washington Wizards. All that plus a little bit of the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. So I want to talk a little bit about the Bulls and the roster, right? And I think the thing that we're seeing when we see that this kind of Bulls team that doesn't quite all the way click all the time, right? There's sometimes where our offense looks really good and it's humming. There's other times where we go through extreme scoring droughts, and there's a couple of different reasons for that, right? Some of it, yes, is the rebounding, not getting key rebounds by the Chicago Bulls. Also, our defense faltering at times. We're not able to attack the other teams in transition like we want to, right? But I think ultimately we're seeing a team that is telling the coaching staff that they want to play quicker, but a coaching staff that hasn't necessarily found the best ways to do that. Now, I'm not saying that they haven't tried to play faster. They actually have. The Bulls have increased their pace, not by a whole hell of a lot, but you're talking about a team that was towards the bottom of the league in pace, still towards the bottom, but 22nd in the league in pace, we are definitely playing faster. But I think when you look at the fact that we got Kobe, Ayo, Dalen, Andre Drummond, Alex Caruso, Julian Phillips, even Ernest Batum, right? Then to add into that, Patrick Williams and Zach LaVine, when they're healthy, these are players that want to play faster, that operate kind of fast in a better and quicker offense to even kind of bring that home a little bit more. While we know Zach LaVine never really got going in the way that we're used to seeing Zach LaVine going this season, even coming back from injury, never quite was the same Zach. I'm not getting to the politics of why or the why nots there. I'm just talking about the reality of it. But even a player like Patrick Williams, when Zach LaVine initially went down, we adopted this quicker pace in the month of December. And for that, Patrick Williams had one of the best and most consistent months of his career. Now, most of that is still what needs to be unlocked mentally when it comes to Patrick Williams. But I think that we are seeing just that this team wants to play with the quicker pace. And that doesn't mean run and gun. I think a lot of people, when they hear quicker pace, they automatically think, oh, you're trying to play run and gun. No, those are very different things. The run and gun offense that was kind of popularized by the Phoenix Suns back when Steve Nash was the point guard of that team, that was more with 7 seconds or less is what it's called, meaning that they were trying to get that first shot up in that possession in 7 seconds or less if possible. That's not what I'm saying here with the Bulls. I'm saying a quicker pace, meaning be more decisive, move the ball around. When you see when the Bulls have those 30 assist games, like when you look at it in that first half against Boston, one of the reasons why the Bulls offense looked good against Boston, even though, defensively we didn't stand up, we had almost well over 20 assists in that first half. And so that's when the ball's moving around quicker as well. We see that. Now, some of that comes by you need to move without the ball, which is something that I harping on a lot with this team that we don't do consistently enough. We don't move without the ball well enough. But when you look at it, right, this Bulls team, when you put some of the things together, right, the number of our buckets that are assisted on kind of adds to that fact of you want to move that ball a little bit better. When you look at it, DeMar DeRozan, when his 3-point attempts, 86% of those are assisted on. Kobe White, even though we know what he can do as far as creating some space, 85% of his 3-pointers are assisted on. Then when you look at the corner 3 percentage as well, even DeMar DeRozan, who's known as not the best 3-point shooter, right? 40% from corner threes for DeMar DeRozan, 45% from Kobe White, 42% for Patrick Williams in that as well, 45% from Zach LaVine, 45% from Julian Phillips, Ernest Batum as well, almost a 37% shooter on those corner threes. You know what helps create corner threes? Is movement without the ball, moving the ball around fast, and getting to your position before the defense has a chance to set up and has to kind of collapse in to stop the penetration on a fast break. What that means is that what that's telling us is that the Bulls do have a roster that want to play quicker. And yes, we have some players on this roster that aren't necessarily the best in a quicker pace offense, Nikola Vucevic being one of those, even though over his career as the trail man, he actually does pretty good in a faster pace offense. But we know Nikola Vucevic is slowing down. And I want to give credit as well. DeMar DeRozan has adapted as best as possible to when the Bulls are playing fast. Usually being the assist man on that time, he kind of leads those breaks, gets that out, because he's not the best off the ball or in a quicker pace offense either, but he's been finding a way to find his shots with a quicker pace, and you got to give credit for DeMar DeRozan. This in no way, in this topic, is it a topic to crap on anybody necessarily on the Bulls, but it is to say that it comes down to you got to kind of let your roster tell you the way that they like to play, and that's not what we've seen. Now, that leads to the next question. Can Billy Donovan coach this team the way that they want to be coached? And I already know my boy, Winton Mahorn, is going to say, well, we can't do that with Billy. Y'all got Winton Mahorn back started, who during the month of December and January was actually giving Billy Donovan his props. And then with the Bulls going back to how they've gone, Winton's gone back to his Billy Donovan dislike, and it's valid, right? So, but with that said, can Billy Donovan is it? Because Billy Donovan isn't going anywhere. And I know the easier thing to say is, well, let's get rid of Billy Donovan. If you're saying that, Haize, that this team wants to play faster, that you're sitting there saying that they are more effective when they play faster, then why are we going to keep a coach that can't seem to coach them the way that they want to be coached? And unfortunately, there's politics involved in that. Unfortunately, there's also feelings from the front office and the ownership involved in that. So the bigger question is when you look at Billy Donovan, has he coached faster paced offenses in his career? And the answer actually is yes. He has done that. Now, will he do that with this roster? That remains to be seen, but I think when you look at it, right, this team, especially with Andre Drummond kind of showing it in flashes as well, even though Andre has his own shortcomings also, that this team is a wing player and a big that both like to play fast as well. They kind of play faster in that way. If they do end up getting one of those bigs in this draft that can thrive in a faster pace offense, I think they're that away from this team almost having to force its hand to play at a quicker pace, right? Now, you still want to, even if playing at a quicker pace isn't going to be the thing that unlocks this team to be a above 500 team. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that on offense, you are unlocking a lot more of your players and their natural skill set. We have some really good passers in transition. When you look at Ayo, when you look at Dalen Terry, when you look at Caruso, even Kobe White, these are guys that are really decisive and great playmakers in transition. Are they as good as what Lonzo Ball was? No, I'm not saying that. But they are solid passers, and when you have those type of players, a lot of those players who also play well, Julian Phillips isn't a bad passer either. I think we need to develop that part of his game. But when you have those players that are kind of telling you, hey, we play best in this way, I hope that there's something that the front office and coaching staff open their minds up to really take a look at considerably changing that. Now, you also have to put the whole team in the proper situations. And in no way am I saying, hey, just let DeMar DeRozan go so we can play faster. Just let Vooch go so we can play faster, because those things aren't necessarily realistic to still trying to keep a formidable team around. But I think that's something that is to look at, right, as we go forward for the rest of the season, as we go forward like into next season, kind of look at what type of players do the Bulls add when they are adding players to this team, because I think we could see, I think that it would do better for sure for the team if we see this team kind of embrace a team that likes to play quicker, be more decisive in their passing, move without the ball. That is an absolute thing on coaching. I'm not, the players, because they're the ones standing around, they get part of that as well. But like I said, the coaching staff has bred this environment to where players feel comfortable. There's no way that a coach, even a high school coach, will tell you if his players aren't moving out the ball, they're not going to stop practice and try to drill that point home. This team has lacked ball movement, off-ball movement. For almost 3 years, we've lacked that. Outside of a few players, Javonte Green, Alex Caruso did it in the first couple of years of this team coming together. Caruso and now Torrey Craig. Ayo does it at times, but he's not even as consistent as I would like to see Ayo Dosunmu being that. OB has shown it a little bit. Julian has shown flashes of that. But I think that is something that when you look at, especially if this team is mostly staying together, which it does seem like signs are pointing to that, I think that change in being more decisive, moving quicker, moving without the ball, right? Rebounding better so you can get out in transition more naturally. Those are type of situations that I think can truly kind of unlock this Bulls offense a little bit more than what we've seen it done over the last couple of years. But let me know what you guys think on that. I know not everybody, and again, I want to be clear here, and I got to keep saying it because some people don't listen and don't comprehend. Playing with a faster pace does not mean playing run and gun. Those are two very different styles, very different things. And I know kind of with the untrained eye, they can look similar at cases, but playing with a quicker pace is not playing run and gun. Those are two very different things. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. But with that said, I know I talked a little bit about Dalen Terry's game against Boston. I went back and watched just kind of some of Dalen Terry's possessions, and it kind of reminded me of, honestly, a young Io. I think when you look at what Dalen Terry is, right, and how he has the length, how he has some of the speed to take some players off the dribble, sometimes it's kind of uncontrolled, but we're starting to see a Dalen Terry that it seems like he's slowing down some, being more decisive, right? That's kind of the key things with Dalen Terry, slowing down, process the game, be decisive in your movements and how you want to go. Try to get to that rim when it makes sense. And we also saw a Dalen Terry that didn't hesitate to shoot the three ball, which is not something that we've seen a whole hell of a lot from Dalen Terry in his time in the NBA. Is he still an extremely raw prospect? Absolutely. A raw player, because at this point he's not a prospect. He's in the second year in the NBA. He's still extremely raw, right? And I know we hired Peter Patton, we hired the player development staff in the offseason last year, but this is their first full offseason, all being entrenched, knowing the players over the course of the season. And I think that Dalen is starting to show just what he can be at the NBA level, right? When he starts calming down, that player, I compare him kind of to like a mix between, to just use two former Bulls or now another current Bull, kind of like a mix between Javonte Green and Ronnie Brewer, in the fact that that's kind of how he can be used in certain ways, right? Dalen it's a lot of versatility you can use Dalen in, right? You can use him as the pass man on a fast break, right? He can lead a fast break with how good he is with passing in transition, but then also the moving without the ball part. If we start getting Dalen Terry to slash and cut a lot more, I think that you're going to see a Dalen Terry that finishes around the rim at a decent rate and percentage, and that could start being that confidence builder for him. Defensively as well, we're starting to see Dalen Terry very much so slow down defensively, right, as far as in a good way, kind of processing what the other team's trying to do, and he's playing better in that aspect as well. So we're seeing a Dalen that is starting to show it. Now, does he have star-level potential or anything like that? There's been nothing to show to say that yet. But when you're talking about a player that can still round out to a decent bench player for you, right? Dalen Terry is showing that. And so I hope that development continues for Dalen. But once I kind of started looking at some of that Ayo Dosunmu similarities and how he can take players off the dribble and get to the rim, he just got to learn to convert a little bit more, slow down, process where the defense is, right? Sometimes we see Dalen Terry, he gets the ball, he puts his head down, he just tries to get to the lane. It's not really decisive, right? Kind of using that quicker, that change of pace, kind of understanding what angles to take on the defender as well, is I think things that can drastically change what Dalen Terry's doing. And so, while he's getting these minutes, right, and if this continues for Dalen Terry, over the course of the season, which it's really weird. Like Billy Donovan, it's like he plays Dalen Terry some games, double-digit minutes, and then it's OB some minutes. He's never really consistent with both of them. But Dalen Terry right now is in a 5-game stretch of playing at least 13 minutes in the last 5 games overall. So that may be a sign of how Billy Donovan is planning on using Dalen Terry while Julian's out. We have these injuries giving the young guy an opportunity. And I think in that, a lot of his buckets are going to be assisted on, and that's fine for right now. That's you want to build that confidence. But I do think that Dalen Terry's starting to show some of those signs that there's a player in there in Dalen. It's up to the coaching staff to bring out the most of that they can. It's also up to Dalen to continually work on his game, especially this summer. And I really want to see Dalen Terry turn into a gym rat if he's not already this summer and really work on that aspect of his game. Watching tape, understanding how to slow down, let the game slow down to you, and then realizing that especially when he's playing guard, there's not a whole hell of a lot of guards that can match his length depending on where he's playing. So, again, he has to learn how to use that to his advantage. But I think those signs are starting to be there for Dalen Terry. It just has to get a little bit more consistent. But, could Dalen be one of those players that we look at and say, hey, he's turned some things around? Dalen even, who said when he was interviewed by Darnell Mayberry, said that, he looked at Kobe White, he's looked at Io, and looked at the fact that it's a testament to say that you're never done evolving in that game. Now it's up to Dalen to show that, right? To show that consistently and to evolve that part of the game. People make it to the NBA off raw talent alone all the time. To stick around in the NBA, though, you have to develop that raw talent into something that's palpable on the basketball court. And so that's the next challenge for Dalen Terry over the summer, is how many of those raw talents that you have there. And you don't have to hang on any one of them, but can you turn those into actual NBA skills. We know that Dalen can rebound. We know he can get out in transition and pass well in transition, not necessarily in the half court, but we know Dalen also can score around the rim, right? We know that he can get out and run as well. We know these things about Dalen. But now try to bring those things all together and be that Swiss Army knife off the bench. Because I tell you what, there are a lot of players that started off as Swiss Army knives, kind of a jack of all trades, no master of none, right? In a lot of ways, you can turn that into an NBA career, and you can help impact wins for your team in doing that. And that's really what Dalen kind of needs to look at this summer, I think, in a major way. But there are signs there that growth for Dalen Terry is there. He's scratching the surface of it. We just got to hope that it's going to come out even more as he's getting more minutes at the end of the season and come into training camp, really ready to kind of earn that role for the Bulls next season. Let's hope that that's the case at least. Now, we do have a game today against the Washington Wizards, and listen, the already announced the Washington Wizards are going to be down a bunch of players. Kyle Kuzma, Landry Shamet. I'm trying to add syllables. Eugene Omarui, who that's the guy who Vooch did the too small to, and Tyus Jones are all out. Jordan Poole is questionable for the Washington Wizards tonight, so they could be missing him. But regardless of who's in or who's out for that team, the Bulls got to lock in. And this is something that we know. There are no easy games for the Chicago Bulls at all. You don't have easy games. You haven't earned that right to have easy games. You have games that should be easier on you and for your team, but there's no easy games right now for the Bulls because we've seen the Bulls lose to some of the worst teams. We've seen them win against some of the best teams. We've seen them lose. So it's just the Bulls have not unlocked a consistent level where you can come into the game and just say, oh, yeah, the Bulls are going to execute well enough to take care of business against this team tonight. So the Bulls are going to have to keep the Wizards off the bench. Now, the Wizards are not a great offensive team, but they're not terrible either. Averaging 113 points per game, which is more than the Chicago Bulls technically, right? So, again, I know they're missing a lot of players, so you're not expecting them to have that firepower, but this is a necessary win for the Chicago Bulls, right? You do not want to allow this team to come in and bit slap you around, especially with who they're missing. They're also the worst defense in the league, right? The Washington Wizards are allowing 123 points per game, the worst mark in the NBA. They're actually two and a half points more than the next worst defense in the NBA, which is technically the Indiana Pacers. So the Bulls have to take advantage of this game. Bulls right now rank as 15th defensively on the season. This is one of those games where I want to see the Bulls, much like we did in the last game against the Wizards, have the defense snuff out the Wizards early on. Let this be a lead that you hold on to, right? You do not want to give up big points and allow the Washington Wizards to get in this game and stay in this game. Hang your hat on your defense, get them out of there, run them out the building, whatever it's going to take, but defensively snuff this team out. Show that excellence and the execution on the defensive side of the ball that we've seen flashes in to completely take care of this team, eliminate this team, get this team out of here, right? Mentally crush this team tonight. Should the Chicago Bulls do. And so, we want to see a game where kind of Kobe White gets back in rhythm, Ayo Dosunmu gets back in rhythm. Maybe this is another game where DeMar DeRozan takes like 7 shots because he's allowing kind of everybody else to cook. Vooch cooked last game as well against the Washington Wizards, so hopefully we can see him and Drum play really good against a team that's front court is even more weakened now than what it was before. Just take care of business, Bulls. That's what it comes down to. Can you take care of the necessary business to get this job done? And that's what everybody wants to see from the Bulls, right? I get it. It's been an up and down season for the Bulls. More up than down, technically, if we're looking at it. We started off very down, but since then there's been more up than down. But you don't want to allow a 13-win team to come in here and push you on your own home court. Now, I'm not saying that it's not possible because, again, as we've seen with coaching and sometimes with execution from this team, and the fact that when teams just don't back down and go away, sometimes the Bulls mentally, they get tested, right, by teams they shouldn't get tested by. And so, just take care of business against this Washington Wizards team, and then let's get this dub, and let's go forward to the next game, right? Let's create a little bit more separation between that Atlanta Hawks team that's 2.5 games behind us right now. They face the Boston Celtics tonight as well, so let's hope that they get that loss while we get a win, and we can create more of that separation. But before we go today, we do got a voicemail I want to get into. This one's from Shay. We're going to go and play that now.
What's up, Haize? This Shay. Look, man, the season is almost over, the regular season, that is. And I just want to say, man, as a Bulls fan overall, we need to be very happy about this season. Look, I know it hasn't gone the way we wanted to. We probably might never get to 500. But let me tell you something, man. We got the one thing that we wanted, and we wanted out of this season. We wanted one of our young guys to make a big push for it this season so we could build off something in the future. and we got 2 of them. So I feel like we should be very happy, especially with all the injuries that we had to deal with. And think about it. Look at teams like the Memphis Grizzlies that all they lost is just Ja Morant and Steven Adams, and now they a lottery team. Look at all these teams that just lose one player like Philly did with Joel Embiid. Now they're in the play-in right along with us. Look at the team like the Miami Heat. Although they are a tough playoff team and they're going to fight hard in the playoffs, but they ain't doing what they did last year, especially with them losing Max Strus and all that shit. You know, I think that as a Bulls fan, we should be happy. Think about it. We lost the games we probably should have won, but think about it. We got one guy that didn't come and play for us in the season. Our main guy got pussied out and decided to have season-ending surgery. And Patrick Williams, we lost one of our best defenders. But one thing we did do is we got 2 of our young guys to step up, and that can help us in the future. Look, man, I call this season a success because of what Kobe and Ayo has done. Now, I don't know about us making the playoffs, but it possibly could still happen. Hopefully we bring our A game in them 2 playoff games. But I still look at the season as a success because, with all that we went through, we didn't do like the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies lose one of our star players and became a lottery team. We're not doing like the Brooklyn Nets. We didn't do bad as the Brooklyn Nets, and then 2, we didn't just lose one player and then the ship started sinking. Although the ship sunk earlier, but at the end of the day, man, hey, I'm seeing improvement every day from this team. And I'm seeing improvement from one of our young guys each day. Anyway, man, tell me what you think. Peace.
I agree with a lot of what you said. This season has been a season of ups and downs for the Bulls. It just has. It's been a season of, we've dealt with injuries, which have definitely affected the team. But like I said, playing with a 44-win pace after the month of December, there's something to be said to that, right? This team is technically still on pace right now with how they've been playing to finish with 41, 42 wins. So, let's see if that actually does happen in reality, right? You got 11 games left on the season. Let's see how much of that comes true. But, at the end of the day, the Bulls are a team that can play. We know what this team can be. The problem is that we just haven't been that consistently. Yeah, this has been a season where I would say let's take more positive. If we do finish at 40 to 41 wins, that's a season where you finish at 500 after injuries to Zach LaVine, injuries to Patrick Williams, right? Injuries to Dalen, to DeMar DeRozan at times. Vooch at times has missed time. Torrey Craig's missed a whole crap ton of games. Javon Carter didn't turn out the way that you wanted him to turn out. But still, we saw the growth of Ayo and Kobe, who've really stood out hugely for this team and played just great games for this team overall. And have really kind of reminded everyone, hopefully it reminded everyone that you don't give up on young players just because they haven't hit the benchmark that you set for them after 3 years. They're really kind of breaking that up some. And, of course, this is Ayo's 3rd year. So, but Kobe in his 5th year is really just showing a lot. So we got to keep that development going. But I really like what these players have shown. I like what they've done. And I like a lot of this team, right? OB is a piece. Julian Phillips has shown himself as a piece that you still want to develop, right? That the Bulls were right to make sure they traded into that draft and get. So let's see if those things continue while adding some more clarity to the roster. But that's a great voicemail, Shay. That's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.